Um, Let me say good morning. It's about 1:25 a.m. here. So, so far, okay, today we're going to be looking at more on functions. We're going to work more with functions. But before I get to that, I've decided to change my development environment. I'll be developing with Visual Studio Code from this point onward. So you can download VS Code. We're just going to Google and type in VS Code, download, and then you just follow the link and you can download VS Code. My reason for shifting to VS Code is because I find it to be more complete than Sublime, and then it supports a lot of add-ons. Although Sublime also does, but I kind of like it. So let me open it. Maybe you might also fall in love and start using it. But it's not necessary for our work. It's just that this is my preferred development environment, and you can use whatever it is you are comfortable with. So I'll be adding a trace folder here. All right, so you can select your folder, and then once you do that, you will have your files, and then you can access them, and then you can do whatever it is that we've been doing so far. So I think this is the previous file we worked on, a sample bank program. And then today I want to show you a little bit more on functions, or what you can do, some things I think are necessary for us to look at before we say goodbye to functions and move on to the next topic. So what I want to show you today is how you can create a function that takes an arbitrary number of arguments. You know, when we okay, so one good thing about this editor is that it gives us access to terminal, so we don't have to actually go to, like, the way we have to go to Windows and open the terminal and start working there. We don't have to do that anymore. With VS Code, we could just come here to terminal, then say new terminal, and then boom, we're inside our terminal. So this kind of makes sense to me, I think. So we can run Python from within this place, and then whatever it is that we could do before in our Windows PowerShell, we could still do here. Obviously, we're in the PowerShell terminal here also. So let me show you an example of what I'm talking about. So let's say we pass in max of two numbers, 1 and 2, sorry, and 3. So you see Python returns 3. So that is the maximum of 1. Maximum between 1 and 3 obviously is 3, right? Minimum for 5 and 30. 5 is the minimum, right? So what you might not know is that you could also do something like this: max 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and it returns the maximum. So if you look at this carefully, you will observe that we're actually passing up to 8 different arguments or parameters to the function, and yet it works fine. And then in our previous functions that we've defined, they only take a specific given number of arguments, and if you pass more than this number of arguments, it actually fails. For example, let's look at our previous example. Let's look at this. So see this argument, this one takes just, so this function here that we defined in our previous tutorial, this takes two arguments, and if you pass more than that, the function is an error, and we can easily test that. Let's comment out this part. Let's copy that first, Control C. and then we can comment it out. Control V. So let's just pass in an extra parameter. Let's see what happens. So let's say test. Alright, so let's run this Control S. So you could just hit the run Python in terminal here and it will run. Alright, you see already VS Code is highlighting that too many positional arguments for function call. And then if you also look at it here, you'll see that Python raised an error, say type error. Greeting takes 2 positional arguments, but 3 were given. So this means that we can't pass more than 2 positional arguments to this function. So what about when we intend to create a function like the Python built-in max function or the main function, whereby a function taking more extra arguments? So that's what I'm going to show you today on how to do. So I'm going to create a new file. I'm going to call this function more.py. We'll just select that. Alright, so if you want to create a function that takes an arbitrary number of arguments more than, that is, you do not know the number of arguments that the user could pass, but then you want to be able to handle the arguments in the function, then what you have to do is this. You already know that we use def to define a function, so let's call this function greeting. Should we call this function greeting? Yeah, let's call this greeting. Then let's say print. So what you need to do here is this. So let's say we want to pass in names here. Let's call it names. Let's call the argument names. So by specifying this asterisk here and names, it means this function can take as many arguments or parameters as you want to pass in. So let's say print names. Let's say that's what this function do. So let's call this function and see what happens. So let's say greeting, and then let's pass in several arguments. So let's say Tahir, let's say model. Alright, now let's run this and see what happens. You see, interestingly, everything runs fine. Let me clear this out so that's clear. Alright, so you see, as open running, the function, it prints out Tahir, Aisha, Maimuna, Smodo, but it prints them out in a tuple. So you see, we passed in like an arbitrary number of arguments and it still prints them out. So what this really does is that, so let's kind of change this. Let's make this numbers now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Alright, so you see it returns a tuple also now with the numbers. So the point of this is that you might come to a point when you're developing and realize that you need a function that takes in an arbitrary number of arguments from the user. So this is how you can create it. So it's very easy, it's just simple. All you have to do is pass in an asterisk here and then the name that you want to use to represent your arbitrary number of arguments, and then you could collect them and then use them. So it's as easy as that. Thank you for watching. See you in the next tutorial.